Today, finally, is the day that Germany reunifies. Now, I worry about this because whenever I meet individual Germans, they never seem at all chastened by history. They still seem to think that they are part of an innately superior nation, despite the fact that they're all really ugly, and the only good band they've ever produced is Boney M, who themselves were hardly a product of Aryan genetic engineering. So the new Germany is, I understand, to have a new name, which is interesting because, like, Germany's always been keen on offering its neighbours a new name. Germany. I'm David Baddiel, and this is Punt and Dennis.
Yes, today effectively is the day that the Second World War finally finishes.
Just in time for the third one to break out.
And where are the Germans 50 years on? In the desert, in tanks. This time, of course, they are part of the Western Alliance, and you can easily tell the German tanks. They're the ones that always start first thing in the morning.
I mean, they're just incredibly reliable.
And of course, you can always tell the British tanks, they're the ones being driven by the Iraqis. To reassure anybody who is still worried about the new united Germany, they've also kindly rewritten the words of their national anthem.
Deutschland, Deutschland, über nobody.
Now, at this point, we must say that on this subject, we wouldn't wish to be associated with the views of Nicholas Ridley.
No, because Nicholas Ridley is so patently an arsehole. The sort of man who, when you see him like in a hard hat on a building site, you think, oh, he looks a bit of an arsehole in that hat, and then you realise it's not the hat.
The new Germany, of course, promises to follow the spirit of the new barrier-free united Europe, a spirit which has also been demonstrated admirably recently by French farmers. The government have decided that they're fed up with our land being attacked on its way through France. The next batch of British sheep are going in there prepared.
Still, we do get our own back. For instance, the BBC has sold Allo Allo to French television. Which is a bit like selling Midnight Express to the Turkish Tourist Board.
Now, Crime Stoppers would like to hear if anyone has been trying to sell you one of these car stereos. How much were they asking? £60? £70? It may sound too good to be true, but be advised. You can get them from me for 30 quid.
Our audience tonight have got here by various means, including one man who appears to come direct from Shenley by dial-a-ride, but unfortunately no one has come by the first form of transport we're going to look at in the transport experience, the seesaw hand-operated railway trolley, as used by Laurel and Hardy, and now an integral part of the government's plans for privatising the railways. Then there is the bus. Certainly, in a busy city centre, there's no vehicle better equipped for nipping through the rush hour traffic than a 200-ton diesel-powered traction engine. In major cities, there are also night buses which never arrive. Now, in London, night buses leave from Trafalgar Square, which is why it's always so packed by the end of the year. And there are certain things you will always hear while waiting for public transport. Waiting for a bus, someone will always say,
oh, you wait for ages, and then 4 come at the same time.
Waiting for a train, someone will always say,
Typical British man.
And of course, on the underground, someone will always say, fire! Fire! So your best bet, contrary to all environmental considerations, is to travel by car. And an indispensable aid to getting around in your car is the A to Z. All city street finders are called the A to Z, except Beirut's, which is called the A to B. Apart from these, there is also the Nicholson Street Finder.
I gotta tell you guys, I don't know where the I am. Eyebrows that got lost as well.
Now, cars, of course, are very dangerous, and from an early age, we are taught road safety. Now, this used to be in the form of the curb drill, which was very easy to remember. It went,
Look right, look left, look right again, and if nothing's coming, you obviously don't live in London.
The other problem with cars is that they go wrong, and you have to go to the garage. And there, car mechanics always mystify the process of fixing your car. I mean, especially if it's foreign. If your car is anything except a Ford Granada, you might as well be asking them to fix the Arkansas Chugga-Bug. But as we all know from watching Grand Prix, a car can go into the pits on fire and be back on the track in seconds.
And in the last lap of the British Grand Prix, Alain Prost has built up a lead of over 14 seconds over Ayrton Senna. So surely now the championship is in the bag as he goes into the pits for his last pit stop.
Wait, complete spark change and oil in the turbo shaft.
Sorry, mate, there's no way I'll fit you in today. Sorry, no. I'll tell you what, I might have it done for you Thursday. Leave the keys, give us a ring around lunch.
What? Hurry up, you stupid man! I've already lost 5 seconds to centre!
Trouble is, you see, these just aren't built for speed. They're not built for speed. What you want is a Ford Granada. In fact, I'll tell you what.
And Ayrton Senna has taken the lead, but now out of the pits, here comes Alain Prost in a Ford Granada gear. The one they bought off me for 20 quid. And it's Senna in the McLaren with turbocharge, and Prost in the Granada gear with the mock leather steering wheel cover and the cassette player that does not work.
What of the future? Well, probably the biggest transport project at the moment is the Channel Tunnel. But unfortunately, the Channel Tunnel has run out of money. Now, most people's reaction to this is obviously, ha 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 ha! We never wanted the bloody thing anyway. But obviously this is not the view of those more deeply involved. For a more in-depth analysis, our political correspondent.
Reaction at Westminster to the news of the financial difficulties for the tunnel project was mixed, but the general reaction seemed to be, ha 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 ha! We never wanted the bloody thing anyway.
But the Channel Tunnel will get built. After all, when it comes to tunnelling difficulties, they've never daunted the British before.
Right, everybody, money or no money, I want these tunnels finished by the night of the 13th. Who's with us? Danny, Hiltz, Colin.
Let me come with you. I can see perfectly.
The amazing thing about the Channel Tunnel is how on earth we ever persuaded the French to build a tunnel with us in the first place. Let's face it, our record on subterranean transport systems is not good.
This is the Channel Tunnel Line Information Service. Malheureusement, il y a un failure de point. Calais, jusqu'à Tottenham Court Road. Aussi, il n'y a pas d'escalators. Calais, donc il faut utiliser les stairs. Merci.
I'd like now to do a reading from Heathcote Williams' classic conservation poem, Whale Nation. Now, those of you who are already familiar with this poem may perhaps notice that I've taken the liberty of adding one or two of my own lines here or there, but I trust you agree with me that this doesn't interfere with the poem's original meaning in any way. Whale Nation. Out of the body of one whale is made oil, jewellery, clothes, medicine, soap, furniture, cosmetics and ornaments. What a bargain! Try getting all that lot out of a panda.
Who can say what really constitutes perversion? I mean, for me, the man who sits on a vibrating love egg in an inflatable body stocking is less perverted than Robert Robinson's wife.
I mean, Jesus, the fact that Robert Robinson is married means that someone actually exists who watches Call My Bluff and thinks, oh, sit on that.
Well, next week on Sex Talk, we'll be looking at those types of sexuality that have always been considered criminal, such as bestiality. Now, in terms of crime solving, this one is obviously a lot more difficult than most because usually it's rather difficult for the animal to report the crime, except in very unusual cases.
Officer Dibble, it was terrible, Officer Dibble. Oh, please, wonderful dreams, those very creatures. Lovely jump. I knew I shouldn't go round wearing just a waistcoat. This sort of thing was bound to happen. Why, I'm sorry, PC. Next time I'll use some KY jelly.
Beyond bestiality, there are also people who go to the zoo and get turned on by watching the animals mating. Well, certainly this is more cost-effective than going to any other type of sex show. I mean, at least while you're standing there waiting for the gorillas to get randy, Johnny Morris doesn't come out and say,
You've got to buy a drink now. It costs £15.
The day's top stories: United Amalgamated bid for Consolidated Incorporated. Incorporated United in leveraged buyout struggle, and Amalgamated Consolidated offer a second rights issue ahead of half-year profit announcement. Later on, we'll be asking, who gives a toss? Also, John Major says we are not heading for a recession. He also says he met Elvis at the deli counter in Tesco. But now, the financial news roundup. What happened in the market today?
Well, in the market today, I got some dodgy cassettes for $1.99. The sound quality's crap, but they were cheap. Now, some company results announced today: ICI 2, Chelsea 0, and Woolsby British Gas is a late kick-off. Now a look at today's markets in detail.
Well, shares rose on opening, but slipped back mid-morning when supply figures were released, rising again strongly before lunch on the rumour that there was lasagna on the menu in the canteen. News that a man had fallen off a bus in Gloucestershire sent dealers into panic selling, and when Jeremy at Hambros remembered he'd forgotten to set the video for Inspector Morse, the market collapsed completely.
Well, later on in the programme, we'll be discussing personal savings. How can you best invest £1,000? Should you put it in a high-yield capital growth account, purchase a personal equity plan, or buy a gallon of 4-Star? We'll also be asking, how can you get a guaranteed overdraft? The answer, of course, is spend more money than you've got in your bank account. Good night.
Now, Crime Stoppers would like to hear from you if you can answer any of the following questions. Were you in the Sydenham area last Wednesday night? Did you talk to a man in a blue anorak? Do you know the way to San Jose? If you think I'm sexy and you want my body, come on, honey, tell me so. If you really need me, just reach out and touch me, and you could win a Community Action Trust reward.
With the Birmingham 6 appeal about to start, we thought it was about time a programme took an in-depth look at the history of the Irish conflict. How did it all start? Well, some historians arbitrarily date the war from the potato famine of 1841, during which time the Irish people were enraged by the incomprehension of English aristocrats.
Well, perhaps there are no potatoes, but you know, have they never heard of pasta? Or tzatziki? Let me get me over there, I'll whip them up a light moussaka.
But what really upset the Irish at this stage, at the height of the potato famine, was the opening in Britain in 1893 of the first ever Spud You Like. Now, in the present day, amongst the blind passion and extreme opinion, one still small voice of calm is Ian Paisley's. Now, we all know about Ian Paisley, the campaigner, but what I want to know is, how does the Reverend conduct his ordinary pastoral care?
That'll be the minister now.
Hello, Mrs. Williams! I was saddened to hear about the death of your neighbour!
Yes, well, we were all very fond of old Mr. Dalton.
Because I was hoping to get the pudding before he died, the dirty, fiend bastard! Well, can I have some tea and biscuits?
Ian Paisley...
2 sugars, please!
Ian Paisley is very against the Anglo-Irish Agreement, but he shouldn't be, as all the Anglo-Irish Agreement actually says is, Dana is crap. Meanwhile, it is, of course, impossible to criticise the role of the SAS in the Irish problem, as the SAS are the last vestige of British national pride. Like we may have lost an empire, a manufacturing industry, and every single round of Jeux sans frontières, but we do have these 8 blokes who are really quite hard. The IRA contend that part of the propaganda struggle is against the British cultural stereotype of the thick paddy. Well, one thing we might suggest in aid of this particular struggle is don't carry on putting bombs under the wrong cars. Although obviously when it comes to getting the wrong people, the IRA don't compare to the British legal system. if the government really want to keep public opinion against the IRA, it shouldn't be Jerry Adams who you're not allowed to hear directly on TV, but Lord Denning.
And then Lord Denning claimed that he still maintained it would have been better if the Birmingham Six had been hung. He went on to say that the real emergency at the moment was the Suez crisis. That Cromwell must go, and that he could have bought the same Javanese crackers from Medhamsley Road Concert.
The case of the Birmingham Six and the Guildford Four demonstrate finally that anyone with an Irish accent who lives and works in this country is under suspicion.
Pretends to quell the audience despite the fact that there are 5 people off camera holding up boards that say applaud, applaud. So, joke there, which dies terribly. So, hello tonight, and my guest, Jan Francis.
All right, that's it. I've heard enough. You're nicked.
It's because I'm Irish, isn't it?
No. It's because you're rubbish.
I can't remember that. I've come up here to do a quick audience survey to find out what people's favourite records are of all time, because it interests me. You, sir, what's your favourite record of all time? Any record you like?
Anyone Can Fall in Love by Anita Dobson.
Good choice, good choice. Yeah, that's also my own favourite record. Members of the audience, if I want to shout out now, if you could just shout out your favourite records of all time, OK? Now. That's remarkable. I think, though, right, the reason that record is so popular is, you may remember, it very cleverly fitted the lyric, Anyone Can Fall in Love, around the theme tune.
Da 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 da.
You see, anyone can fall in love. You see, although presumably, had the theme tune gone
da 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 da,
the lyric would have been, anyone can fall in some custard. But 3 years on, right, and other celebrities are picking up on the idea of releasing records with the lyrics fitted around the theme tune of their programme. First on vinyl, Alistair Burnett.
I love you so, don't want to let you go. I love you so, oh please don't tell me no. Woman, you're so sexy. I'm not a gigolo girl, and you're just a very special lady. Mama's got a brand new bag. Sandy.
There is no doubt that most people are actually excited by the prospect of war in the Gulf. It's like when a crowd gathers around 2 men about to have a ruck. Everybody wants the fight to happen, which is perhaps why, so far in fact, the only placatory measure that has been taken by the West is the collective decision by Western diplomats to call Saddam Hussein by his first name. Are they being chummy? Where is it going to stop?
Well, what you have to remember, of course, is that whole Kurdish villages have been wiped out in chemical weapon attacks instigated by Sadders. And really, Sad the Lad, as I call him, is a ruthless dictator of a type who I can only compare with Addy Waddy Hitler.
Of course, this might have something to do with the fact that up to 2 months ago, we were best mates with Sadders. At any moment, though, the problem is Iraq may use mustard gas, but in such a circumstance, the British military are prepared to respond immediately with Piccalilli gas. With talk of chemical weapons, it is a relief to remember that some people have already got out.
Today, Iraqi sources confirmed that British women would be allowed to leave Iraq. This is John Simpson for the 9 o'clock news in Baghdad.
Meanwhile, if war does break out, we can at least be reassured by the knowledge that it will involve a concerted multinational peacekeeping force.
Fighting finally broke out in the Gulf today between the Americans and the French. Apparently, General Field Marshal Gruber of the 3rd Airborne Armour Division was heard to refer to Charles Aznavour as a faggot. John Simpson is on the scene.
Dawn in Baghdad. That's my new name. Dawn in Baghdad for the 9 o'clock news.
And now we're going over live to Baghdad for a satellite link-up with Saddam Hussein. Hello, President. Can you hear me?
Hello, David. I'm a big fan of the Happy Mondays. He's going to step on you again. Stand the pacified.
Yes, thank you, President. I did say this was a live satellite link-up, so could you just wait 3 seconds after everything I say, looking a bit lost and puzzled?
Yes, David. You know these satellite photos? They remind me of when you go up to a urinal and then you relax and it's all about to happen, but then there's a 3-second delay before anything actually comes out.
Yes, especially when there's somebody standing next to you.
Yes, David. You know, sometimes then I have to pretend that I was just finishing and go out still needing to go.
Yes, now, President, how have you been affected by the cutting off of all trade links with the West?
Oh, it's great. It means I don't have to pay these. Love and thanks to Tom King. Good night and stay baggy.
One thing that has become clear about Iraq is that in every street there are numerous large pictures of Saddam Hussein. Baghdad is his personal giant photo album. In any batch of photos, however, there are going to be some you'd rather people didn't see.
Oh no, they've used the one that makes me look like Dickie Davis. I look like I'm on bloody Sportsmasters.
We have learned a lot about Iraq, although we're yet to find out exactly why it is that their TV news starts with some graphics that were turned down by Cheggers Plays Pop. Also, doesn't Saddam get pissed off about how much his spokesman looks like him?
And furthermore, we warn the Western invaders of the Holy Territory that the will of the Iraqi people is strong and no hardship will be too great before the day of triumph for the glorious...
Hey, you! You've ripped off my whole bloody image. I mean, if I'd wanted a lookalike, I would have written into stars in their eyes.
Your Excellency,
It has taken me many years of hard work to work out this look. Sort of Omar Sharif meets Bagpuss.
It was undoubtedly the Iraqi invasion, though, which put paid to Kuwait City's bid to host the 1996 Olympics. Although it did still finish ahead of Manchester.
And now, the Dungeons and Dragons Experience, an interactive audience participation fantasy adventure. Dare you try to recover the 3 sacred weapons of Trollsbane and face the fearsome smeg beast of Throck. Of course you don't. That's why you have to play fantasy games with all the other sad gits taking time off from train spotting. Using this computer, we will enter a landscape of trolls and goblins, of mountains and fortresses, a land such as can normally only be entered on the covers of albums by particularly crap heavy metal bands.
Long ago, in a distant time.
Yeah, this isn't a lager ad, actually. Hugh, if you could just get on with it in your normal voice, okay?
Long, long ago, in a distant time, there lived a fearsome
Dragon beast of doom.
in the land of Gonad. And in the valley by the great river we find our hero, a young goblin by the name of...
Okay, this is your first chance to enter the story, to enter a world of fantasy and imagination. You, sir, what is your name and what do you do?
My name is Ron,
Ron.
and I don't do anything.
You don't do anything, okay? Ron, the unemployed person, okay? Okay, Ron, the unemployed person, you are to join a party of mighty warriors who include Boron the Magnificent, Osric the Mighty, and Ron, the unemployed person. What task do you choose? Task A, Task B, or Task C?
D.
Now, don't be clever, Rod, just because you're on the dole, all right? You still had an education, so Task A, Task B, or Task C?
I will do A.
A. He has chosen Task A.
Ron has chosen Task A. Before he goes on, let's just see what he could have chosen. Task B was to have come to the BBC bar afterwards and we'll buy him a drink. Task C was to have gone on a weekend in Paris with Fiona Armstrong, but no, he chose A, which is to recover the 3 sacred weapons of Trollsbane, which have been stolen.
So, were you in the Trollsbane area last Thursday night? Did you see a gang of goblins and pixies carrying a huge sword making their getaway in a V-Reg Ford Granada? If you did, tell me where you got the stuff, because I'd like to try it as well.
Your task, Ron, the unemployed person, is to make your way to the Fortress of Eternal Thingy, and there to recover the 3 sacred weapons. Does he accept the challenge?
Does Ron
Yes,
accept? Oh, he does.
I do
right,
accept the challenge.
He does accept the challenge.
Then proceed.
You set out across the marshes of despair, where you may at any time face certain doom. For above you circle fierce death hawks, which will attack completely at random.
You enter the Forest of Temptation, where dwell the seductive and beautiful wood nymphs. Fortunately, in your pocket, you always carry a condom. Now, you are lost in the great forest. But wait, over in yon glade is one of the little people.
And the producer said to me, Ronnie, he said to me, Ronnie, as he does quite often, by the way, I should explain, should advise you, don't eat one of these mushrooms, you know. I had one of these earlier, and look what happened to the set of Sorry.
Either you can carry on listening to Ronnie, or you can have him disemboweled by the smeg beast of Throp. I can't believe you're thinking about it.
We'll go for the disembowelment.
We'll go for the disemboweling. Can we have the disemboweling? Thank you, Steve. Okay. Now you approach the Crag Fortress of Eternal Thingy, but first, you must answer the riddle of the Gatekeeper, the most dreaded creature of all, the horrifying, the hideous, 3-headed Savile monster.
Now then.
As it happens, 15 years ago, what was the #1 sound?
All right, Ron, have you got any idea? 15 years ago today, what was the #1 sound?
The Laughing Gnome, David Bowie.
The Laughing Gnome by David Bowie is wrong. Does anyone else want to help Ron, the unemployed person, with this? Any ideas for 15 years ago what the #1 sound was?
Anyone that's fallen in love by Anita Johnson?
Don't be stupid. That was obviously only 3 years ago. Does anyone else know? Anyone else want to have a go?
Kung Fu Fighting.
Kung Fu Fighting, that's good enough because it's so original. It was such a great song. So that's right, and that's the correct answer. And so with the help of the audience, you have managed to get through into the fortress, and you, Ron the unemployed person, are now the proud owner of the 3 sacred weapons of Trollsbane. The Sword of Randall.
Randall's sword.
The Shield of Crondor.
Crondor's shield.
And the Axe of Nopolt.
Nopolt's axe.
Actually, there are quite a few other social issues we haven't covered yet. Yeah, like employment law.
Yeah, there's a crime rise, destruction of the rainforest.
Well,
something I want
lads,
to talk about.
portrait of a marriage.